never thought that I would be the type of person to come on this app and complain, but I've been seeing a lot of people talk about Instagram and how, they have their own grievances about Instagram, and I'm just here to add mine. Like on Instagram, I just feel like it's such like a weird app because I feel like there's a lot of weird people on there. It's like if you're on the app and you're following someone, why do you just watch them? I feel like it's very creepy. Most of the time, I feel like people are just staring at me or just like watching me. They will be following you, not commenting on your stuff, not engaging, not even liking. They will just follow you. Like, what's the point of following me at this point if you're just gonna watch me? And I don't know if this has anything to do with the actual algorithm, but like, how come when I post certain story posts, I don't get that many views? But then as soon as I post something about my relationship, here they all come running trying to like see what's going on. Like, is Instagram telling y'all that today I talked about my boyfriend or something? Like, how do y'all know to watch my story that day? But then when I post a picture and I'm promoting it on my story, y'all don't be nowhere to be found. Like,
is anyone else, like, terrified to post on Instagram anymore? Like, I might just never post a picture ever again. It's just, like, awkward now.
Oh, I see why people be deleting Instagram now. I've seen many videos on here when people say that monitoring spirits are definitely their followers because they not getting, like, the interaction, but the stuff is not matching up with the ratio when it comes to the followers and the likes. There's no reason for me to have over 2,000 followers but getting 89 likes. And I know that y'all seen it because the analytics, whenever I go to it, it shows the impression numbers. So it is showing that y'all seeing it, but y'all not interacting? What's really going on? You can't just like the photo. You can't just like the reel. You can't comment. You just gonna see it and stroll. It's cool. It's all good.
I've really been going back and forth, like contemplating if I should really just be done with Instagram because I hate this, like, you have to be picture perfect, you have to have the body, nice waist, clear skin, you have to make the post aesthetically pleasing. Like, sometimes it's too much. And like, I'm really at a stage, or maybe I'm just getting older, where like, auntie ain't got it in me some days. Like, some days I'm really just like, I don't feel like doing any of that.
I think I realized the reason why a lot of us are so fed up with Instagram. We are all just tired of monitoring spirits. And I've noticed there are really a lot. I used to think like, oh, social media is not that serious and I wouldn't take certain things to heart. But you will be surprised how many people are calling themselves your friends or supporters or whatever, and they will make it their job to make sure they watch everything, but won't repost, won't support, nothing. And I used to think I was crazy. Like, these people will watch every single story, every single video, always in your views. And it's so many people that I notice do this. Monitoring spirits are people that don't support you. You don't know how they feel about you behind closed doors, but they make sure they're on set to watch every single one of your moves. And I don't know about y'all, but that feeling is very uncomfortable to me.
You know what's crazy? Some people want to view you just so they can have something to say about you. Or they view you because they want to know what you're doing. You don't like any of my stuff. You don't support any of my content, but yet you really know what's going on with me. You're keeping up, huh? Keeping up the Kardashians. Yeah, you really are. But the worst thing is that the people that are lurking in the shadows, a lot of the times are the people that are closest to you. That's what's unfortunate. You have to make sure that your circle is solid, okay? Because these monitoring spirits that people have, where they always want to just, oh, let me check on her page, see what she's doing, and oh, girl, and have something to judge. Mind the business that pays you. How about that? Okay? Be careful of monitoring spirits like this, because people always will show you what's going on if you let them. That's the reality. They're going to watch all your stuff. You're going to be hearing about things from them. And it's like, I didn't even tell this person this. How do they even know this? They barely engage with me. All these different things. But yet they be knowing. They be knowing. And regardless, keep on posting whatever you're posting anyway. Because a hater's going to hate. That's one thing a hater's going to do, is a hater's going to hate. Okay?
welcome back to my channel, back in another video, and I'm here to talk about why people are quitting Instagram and why they're quitting social media in general. I feel like a lot of people have become very tired, very exhausted with social media as a whole, and it's interesting to see the evolution of it from when it started to where it is now. Because, you know, with me, right, I feel like my generation, or at least like later Gen Z, we kind of had the best of both worlds growing up. We were kind of in that era where social media was just starting. And so we still got to experience a lot of things before like everyone got cell phones and everyone had all this high speed internet. A lot of people feel like all of Gen Z, like we aren't aware of what the world was like without social media, without technology. But we were actually the generation that experienced the shift of it. So growing up, like I had a typewriter, I had a camera that you had to take to the store to get developed. I grew up watching VHS tapes. Like I know what all that stuff is. Like my mom and my grandma, they still have landlines. I know what a landline is like. And so I was also there when the evolution of social media was becoming a thing. Now I wasn't in the whole MySpace era and the early Twitter days, but I was around for the launch of Instagram. I've been on Instagram since the app came out. Since the app was created and put on the App Store, I've been on Instagram. So I've literally have seen Instagram throughout its entire life stage. And it's extremely interesting to see how that app has come to be and how it literally started as just a fun little app that you post pictures on, and you know, everyone was just having a good time, and you know, there wasn't a whole lot of effort being put into it, versus now where Instagram is so what it not used to be. And it's funny because you see so many people saying like, hey, can Instagram go back to how it was? Like, can we go back to it just being about photos? Because it just feels like we don't really have a lot of apps now that are solely focused on photography. Now it's you have to make a video and the video has to be under 90 seconds and there's all these different things. And I remember back when Instagram first started to implement other features based off of what competing apps were doing. The first thing that I can think of is Snapchat. When Instagram introduced Instagram stories, oh, it was a wrap. It was a wrap because I also was heavily on Snapchat. I was heavily on Snapchat, especially in middle school, and then high school. I kind of started to use it less and less. I was using it more so for, like, for the filter and to watch other people's snaps, but I wasn't really using Snapchat like all that much. But I remember when Instagram stories came out, that just blew Snapchat out the water. Granted, people still use Snapchat apparently. I don't, like, I have an account, but I don't really use it except for, like, again, the filters. Yeah, I remember like that moment where I'm like, oh, like they really just took out Snapchat like that. And then you slowly but surely started to see them implement all these different things and, you know, implement because the first they had IGTV, right? And then that evolved to Reels. And then at one point they had both, but then they completely got rid of IGTV and now it's literally just Reels. And even in them creating Reels to try and beat out TikTok, all these apps are trying to beat out TikTok. And I guess I get it from like a competitive standpoint and, you know, you wanting to control the market, but also I think there's something to be said about having different apps for different things. And I feel like all these apps are trying to be like each other to where people won't use the other apps. But for me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, I never looked at like Snapchat, for instance, right? Like before Instagram had stories, it didn't make me use Instagram less because they didn't have stories. And so it's interesting to kind of see all of the changes that these apps are making. And what's crazy too is that these changes aren't being made with the consumer in mind. Almost every single time any of these apps change anything, everybody complains about it. Everyone's just like, we didn't ask for this. Why are you doing this? You're ruining the app. People have just gotten really tired and fed up, especially with Twitter. And yes, I said Twitter. You couldn't pay me. You couldn't pay me to say X, okay? It's Twitter. But even to that, right? Like, they tried to change the name of Twitter. They're removing all these key features of the app. Like, they recently removed the ability to see likes. So now you can't see what tweets people have liked. They're now testing out removing reposts too and comments. And to that point, I'm like, well, damn, what's the point of even using the app? It's almost like all these CEOs and all of these people that are in charge of making these decisions, they're making the apps worse and they're making people not want to use these apps. So now you have these massive amounts of people who are literally either leaving the apps altogether or they're not using the apps to their full potential. And for some reason with Instagram in particular, their thought process is, oh, people are leaving our platform. They don't like the platform. Let's add something else. And I'm like, y'all are literally making it worse. Like, they have so many features that I can't even keep up. You have Instagram stories, you have Instagram reels, you have the shops now on Instagram. You can shop on Instagram now. You have the explore page. You have Instagram notes. You can now add music to your post. You now have all these Instagram stickers, and it's so much going on, and people are just overwhelmed. They're already overwhelmed with just the current state of the world and trying to keep up with everything. These apps are just adding an extra layer of exhaustion. And I feel like with Instagram in particular, it's gotten away from people just being able to share moments of their life to now everything has to be curated and everything has to be made in a way that's favorable to the algorithm. These algorithms are really what is driving people away, because people are finding too that even if you do want to just use Instagram as a platform to connect with your friends and family, you now have the issue that, you know, Instagram isn't pushing your friends' content to you. They're pushing content to you that they think is going to make you buy something. And so you often find that a lot of the people that you follow on Instagram, you're not even getting recommended their content. I have a couple friends who I missed out on literally months worth of posts on their page because Instagram literally won't show it. Like, they won't push it. And that's the other thing too, is like people also want to create content. Like, they want to create, you know, beauty content and cooking content and family content, and they want people to see the content that they're making. But so many people have complained about reach on Instagram, like their content is not reaching people. And it's extremely frustrating, like for content creators, but also frustrating for just people who want to share what they've made, what they created. And just because you don't have the best camera quality or the best microphone quality, now all of a sudden your stuff gets suppressed. And then you also find too that the shorter the video, the better it is on the platform. And it's just like we're getting so caught up in making everything look perfect and making sure that you do everything to a trending sound that we're losing the true creativity and the fun that used to be on Instagram. That's why for me, I barely use Instagram at this point, because I got so frustrated too with how little engagement I was getting on my posts. And yes, there is an element of it's not reaching people, but even as I check my analytics, right, some of my content is actually reaching people, but people aren't engaging. And I feel like the overall climate and culture on Instagram has changed significantly. People don't engage anymore either, which I think is really a shame. And I don't understand where that comes from. I don't understand how it is that you can see someone post something, you do like the content, or at least you are familiar with the person that is creating that content, but then you don't engage with it. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see how, like, if I see my friend post something on Instagram, even if I don't like their outfit or whatever, I'm like, oh, this is my friend, I'm gonna like the post. But for some reason, people feel the need to like watch in silence, and they don't feel the need to engage with anything. And I got really, really frustrated with that, because I'm like, what is the damn point of you following me if you're not even going to engage with the content? It's almost like people are scared to engage, or they feel like they don't want to engage too much. Like, it's so weird how people will literally go out of their way to not engage with content. They'll sit there and consume the content. They'll sit there and share your post to people, but then they won't like it. And I'm like, what's the point of people doing that? And I really don't understand it. And it's very weird. And that's why for a long time, like, I stopped posting on Instagram stories like that. Or now when I post on Instagram stories, like, I never do the polls. I never do the stickers. I do them on occasion, but I used to get so irritated when I would post a poll on my Instagram story, and it literally would be like, I don't know, should I buy this blue dress or this green dress? And I would have 500 people look at the story, but only 2 people would hit the poll. And I'm just like, what? Like, all these, I tell y'all, that used to get me so angry, because I'm like, why is it that all of y'all saw this, but no one, like, the same finger that you're using to skip my story, you can use it to vote on the poll. And I used to get so irritated, because I'm like, why do people just like refuse to engage with content? And I also feel the frustration as a small business owner, and a lot of small business owners can relate to this, where it's like you share your content with your friends, you follow your friends from your account, so they're seeing your stuff, you're posting it on your story, they see it on your story, but for whatever reason, people don't want to engage with the content. I have friends of mine who follow my business page from my clothing line, and I will share the post that I made to my story. Why is it that I'm getting 50 story views, but my actual post only has one to 2 likes? And then one of the likes that I got was from someone that didn't even see my story that day. Like, the math is not mathing. Even with reels, right? You can have reels that perform so well. I'm talking thousands and millions of views, but it doesn't reflect in the following count. And I'm just like, if this creator is creating content that you enjoy and you're liking all their content, why not just follow them? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I literally see accounts. Shoot, I have accounts where I've made reels that literally went viral. Like, I'm talking about 50K views. I have an Instagram page for my YouTube channel. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that, because I don't really cover celebrity news anymore, and that was the whole point of my Instagram page. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with that page, because people do want me to bring it back. But even with that, when I was covering celebrity news, I would get 50K, 70K on a reel. That page is still at like 100 something followers, and I'm like, that makes no sense. How is it possible that I made an Instagram reel that got 50K views, but my Instagram page is at 150 followers? Even if it's at 150 followers, I don't even know if it's at that amount. Let me check real quick as I'm filming here. So my Life with Bree channel Instagram page has 141 followers. Mind you, when you look at the Instagram, now not all of them, did, a bunch of numbers, but just these two right here. So Jeannie Mai and Rihanna and ASAP Rocky. I don't know if y'all can see, but those did really, really well in numbers, but it doesn't reflect in the following count. Almost no one from those reels followed my account. And so when you see stuff like that, it's like, okay, what's the point, right? What is the point? What am I here for? Why am I posting if no one's gonna see it, if people aren't gonna engage with it, and if people aren't gonna support the page? What is actually the point? And I don't even see how anyone is even growing on Instagram. Like, because honestly, I've gotten new followers over the span of like years at this point, but my following count hasn't moved at all. And people have said like, oh, it's because they're removing bot accounts and fake accounts. And I'm like, okay, sure, but if I'm consistently getting new followers, why is my following count not moving? Like, at all? Like, the math don't even math. And I think overall, right, people are just getting tired of the app. And even on the point of Instagram stories, like people not interacting with Instagram stories, I have literally sat and watched my friends go on Instagram, go to someone's Instagram story, and they just start doing this. They just start doing this. They're not even looking at the story. They're just doing this just to clear it out. And I'm like, what are you doing that for? What are you doing that for? Just leave it there. Why are you skipping through people's stories? You're defeating the whole purpose of the story. You're supposed to look at it and watch it. Now, I understand there's times, right, where you'll open up someone's Instagram story and say they posted a video, but you're out in public, so you can't listen to the video right then and there. So it sees that you looked at it, but you didn't get the chance to actually watch the video. I understand that. That happened. But I've seen so many times people just going through it just to clear it all out their feed. And I'm just like, why? I've literally never done that. Like I can sit here and say that like I don't get through most of the stories that are on my feed because I actually watch the stories. I actually read people's stuff. I actually watch the videos. And if I don't have time to do that, then they just won't get looked at for that day. And that's fine. But it's just so weird to me how disengaged and how detached people are from Instagram, from Twitter, from all these platforms. Even with TikTok, there's been a conversation around TikTok and how people will sit there and watch TikToks for hours and hours and hours, but they couldn't tell you who their favorite creator is. If you ask somebody who's your favorite YouTuber, they could probably give you a couple names. If you ask someone who's their favorite TikToker, now all of a sudden it's crickets. They can tell you what their favorite TikTok videos are. Like, oh yeah, I love the video where this dog was doing this, or I love the video where they were saying X, Y, and Z. But they can't even tell you who was the original creator of that favorite video that they have. There's a disconnect there between creator and the video. There's been talks too about how the interface of TikTok, right? You blow up the video, but then you put the details of the creator so small and in the corner to where people don't pay attention to it. And so it's very interesting to see how people are maneuvering in the social media space and how detached people are becoming, and how you're seeing more and more people saying how tired they are, how exhausted they are, and even people saying that they want something new. I've also seen people say, I can't handle another social media account right now. I can't handle another social media. I don't want to build up another social media. I don't want to do it. I don't feel like doing it. I barely feel like doing it with the platforms that I have now. And I completely get it. I think people are burnt out. And even though it's hard to envision a world without social media, I'm curious to see how it's going to evolve over time, because people are tired. They're tired. They're sick of it. They're sick of social media. They're sick of influencers. And I want to make a video about that, about how influencer culture has changed. Like, everything has just changed. And it's crazy because for so long we've gotten into this commercialized side of things where everyone's trying to sell you something. Everyone has, you know, a brand deal or something to show, and people are lacking that personality, that vulnerability, that authenticity, and people are really wanting that. And you're now seeing that a lot of the content that's performing better are the ones where it's not, you know, as polished or it's not as put together, but you do still have those videos though, and those creators, the ones who are like at the top and are consistently doing well, they are the ones that have the polished content. But you're finding that more and more people are seeking out those who are just relatable, and, you know, people that make them feel seen. And, you know, I'm very curious to see where social media goes and how it evolves, because I know with Instagram and Twitter in particular, people are tired of those apps, and I'm tired of those apps. And I'm tired of it from a perspective of like not just the app itself, but also the people on the app. I feel like people on, and it's not all, of course, but a lot of people on Instagram, they're on there for show. They're not on there to build genuine connections and friendships. And again, it's not all. I've made a lot of friends through Instagram. Like, some of my closest friends today I made through social media. If it wasn't for social media, you know, the friendships that I have wouldn't have happened. My last relationship probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for like being able to communicate and connect to people virtually, you know. And I know that people are wanting more in-person experiences now, especially coming out of the pandemic, but there's definitely some genuine connections that you can make off these social media platforms. There's definitely opportunities that you can get from these platforms. But I think as people are starting to look for more authentic content, people are starting to look for more things like outside of social media and outside the digital realm, it'll be interesting to see. And I know that they're trying to push VR, they're trying to push meta, and I don't know, you still have a large amount of people that are like, I'm not with that virtual reality stuff. Like, I want to be here, I want to be present, I want to be in the real world. But then you have this new generation of people coming into the world that are being introduced to VR off rip, and they're invested in it, they're getting into it. And so I don't know, but I think overall people are tired with social media, and I am curious to see if the numbers of people who are using these platforms are going to continue to drop. I know a lot of people want to quit. A lot of people want to quit. But again, social media has literally become like the blueprint to today's society. It's kind of hard to live without it. Some people do. Some people don't have social media. Like my mom is a prime example of that. She literally is not on social media at all. She doesn't have an account anywhere on anything. But it's like, if you want to, again, make connections, if you want to network, if you want to make friendships with people that have similar interests that you do, if you want to start a business and grow your business, like, you kind of need social media. Sure, people were able to get by without it back when it didn't exist, but it's here now, and so many people are using it as a resource to get ahead. There's so many people that have been able to grow successful businesses because they had a TikTok video or an Instagram reel that performed really well, or someone was able to get their product in the hands of the right influencer and it changed the trajectory of their entire business. Like, you can't argue that social media also is a great tool for getting people ahead and making connections, and there's definitely a lot of benefits to it. And it's really hard to not be on social media at this point, especially if you're in the workforce, if you are in business in particular. Like, if you're in the business industry, you kind of need to be on social media, like, even just for the sake of keeping up with trends and keeping up with what's going on in the world. Like, a lot of people get their news from social media, you know, and it's tough. And that's why I'm having a hard time envisioning a world without it and what that would look like, and if that would even happen, because we're so deep into it. I am curious to see if any other social media apps will kind of take over the same way MySpace kind of died out. I'm curious if there will be an app that takes over Instagram. I don't see that happening anytime soon, considering how much power they currently have and how much they're doing in the space. But I know people are tired. They're exhausted. They just feel like social media is it's a burden. It's not fun anymore. And it's also caused a lot of people mental health issues. I mean, we've seen the overall decline of people's mental health, and not just Gen Z. People love to say it's just Gen Z that's depressed and that's being affected by these social media platforms, but no, it's every generation. It's Gen Z, it's millennials, it's some boomers out there. Like, of course it's not everybody, but you see a lot of people like being forced to, well, not being forced, but it's hard not to compare yourself to other people based off of what you see on social media. Everyone is showing their highlight reel. They're showing, you know, the good that's going on in their life. And when you're somebody that's going through a hard time and you're seeing people on social media succeeding more than you, it can affect your self-esteem. You know, I am someone that has dealt with that, you know, in my life, and I'm getting a little bit better with it, but it's tough, especially in the era that I'm in right now, with me approaching my mid-20s, and I have friends who are getting married and getting engaged and having kids and getting their first, second, third apartments, or getting these high-paying jobs, and then I don't have any of that. And it could definitely cause a lot of insecurities, because I know people often say too, like, oh, with celebrities and people that you see online, you know, you don't know them, you know, they're not real. But imagine seeing people in your real life though, like sharing their highlights and you feeling like, oh dang, like their life is great and mine isn't. Like, it's just it's a lie. It's just, I feel like overall social media has just been making people feel low, you know, mentally and emotionally, and I think people are just tired of it. People are finding that social media just isn't healthy. But again, if you're in a space where you kind of need social media, right, like if you work in that field, or if you have a business, or again, just for the sake of staying connected to friends and family, that's why people have Facebook. I don't use Facebook at all, but a lot of my family is on there. A lot of my past teachers and professors that I've met over the years, like I have them all connected to my Facebook. So if I were to delete my Facebook, I would lose a lot of connections that I made over the years that I don't want to lose out on. And so, you know, social media is still much a necessity for a lot of people, but I'm also seeing a lot of people kind of just check out, and even though they may have their account, they don't really post a lot. And I've seen that too. Like, you have the people that post on Instagram every single day, but then you have people that go months and sometimes years in between posts. And honestly, I don't blame them at this point. I haven't posted on my main Instagram page since I think April, because I also find too, if I post too much, people will hold back their likes. They'll be like, oh well, I just liked the post that you made 3 days ago, so I can't like this one. Like, people are just very weird on Instagram, very weird on social media, and I think a lot of people are just checked out. So I'm curious to see how social media evolves moving forward, and people are just gonna slowly die off these apps and just say bump it, I'm just not gonna do social media at all. I'm very curious to see where things go. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about how you feel about social media, how you go about using it, and where do you think social media is gonna end up in the next 5 to 10 years. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you guys go ahead, give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.